What's up, all you cute little semester at sea enthusiasts? Welcome back to another video with me, Jess, about, of course, semester at sea. Today's theme is a very good one, and someone sent me this question on Instagram, I think, and they asked, what did you do about time management when you were on the ship? Like, was it hard to get all your work done? Were you distracted when you were in the countries? Did you have to work a lot, and were the classes hard? So in this video, I'm gonna go over all those things for you and tell you some of my time management tips so you can do well in your classes and have fun while you're in countries. So there's a lot of really fun things to do on semester at sea. For example, when you're on the ship, you can play games with your friends, you can watch movies, you can lie by the pool, you can go swimming, you can go work out, you can play music. There's just a ton to do, and you always want to socialize because there's like 500 other students with you your age and you want to be their friends. And since there's so many fun things to do while you're on the ship, you might think you should just like put off your homework until like one night when you're in the country. You can do it like at night or something, but that's not the best idea because I have a feeling once you're in the country on the land, you're not going to want to do any homework. So my number one tip for you is to work ahead. So I always tried my very hardest to have all of my assignments done before I got to the country I was going to, so I wouldn't have to work on it while I was on land. And even though I wanted to do the other fun things on the ship, I would sometimes combine those fun things together. So I would do my homework on the 9th deck at the tables so I could look out over the sea and the ocean and be in the open breeze but still do my homework and like write essays and stuff. Or if I had a reading in a book, I would like bring that book with me to tan with and read while I was tanning, so like multitasking. Additionally, if I had classes that were like an hour apart, so if one ended at like 10 and I had another at 11 or 11:30, I would take that time between those classes and go to the library and like crank out my homework really fast so I could be done for the day and before I got to the country. What I did on the ship to keep track of all the stuff I needed to do was I just had an open Word doc that I would type in at all times. You can't use Google Docs on the ship, that's just a side note because there's no strong Wi-Fi really. It's just like the ship Wi-Fi, which lets you do not very much, so you can't use Google Docs, just so you know. So I used Word docs to type up the schedule. You could also bring a planner with you if you like hard copy things, but with my Word document, once I finished something, I would just like select and like delete it, and that worked for me, so that was what I did. But I would always list the things I had to get done in order of importance. So what I mean by that is if I had something due the next day, then I would put that at the top of the list. Even if it was just assigned, I'd put it like at the top of my Word document, so I would do that first, and I would put stuff that's due later in the week further down so I could get to it when I got to it. That way I didn't run out of time to do my assignments. Additionally, if I had a big project coming up, a big essay, or like a test I had to study for, I would bold those items so I knew, like, even though they weren't due right away, it was something I should start thinking about and doing. So if I had just like tiny stuff up at the top that was due like in the next couple days, I might work on the bolded item just so I could start it, because starting essays is the hardest part. And the rough thing about that is that the majority of the projects you get on semester at sea, or the majority of your assignments, are essays, or they are Moodle posts. And I don't know if you use Moodle at your home college or home university, but it's basically a site where the professors will post questions you can respond to in forums, or it's where you can like turn in your papers once you finish them. It's just like a main page for assignments and homework and schoolwork. But anyways, after like every single country, I had to write a ton of reflections or Moodle forums and discussions and respond to people, or just like write like literal papers just all the time. So if you don't like writing and reflecting about your thoughts and your feelings, you do a ton of that on semester at sea. And since I'm an English major, I thought that was fine, and I'd like write stuff really fast and get it done. But a lot of people really struggled, and there was this one time I was in the library with this one guy and he was like, I have 5 essays due tomorrow, and I was like, why didn't you start them earlier? And he's like, I just couldn't, like I just can't make myself do that. And I was like, oh, you really should though. You really just need to put yourself in the mindset that you have to get it done, so you start it at least. The hardest part, like I said, is starting. So just write the first sentence, and then if you don't like it, put it away and come back and do it again later. Just write like another sentence in like another hour. Just start writing, because you're gonna have a lot of writing to do, and if you don't do that, you're gonna run out of time and your time management is not gonna go very well on this trip. Another thing you need to realize about time management on the ship is that you're not going to have the ability to really look stuff up. All the papers you write are gonna be probably about like your own thoughts or about a textbook that you read. It's not really going to be something you need to look up and get information for. However, if it is, then you might want to do some work while you're in country so that you can do research when you have Wi-Fi or a data plan in the country, like go to a cafe and maybe work for a few hours, just so you can get some stuff done and so that you can look things up without waiting in line for the 4 computers that are in the library that actually function on semester at sea, like on the ship. So this was actually pretty common. I knew a few people who would always like go into a cafe to get internet on the first day they got to a port, and they would finish up some homework or research they had to do with their laptops, and they would also plan their travel for the next few days once they got there. So they would go and like use the Wi-Fi there to plan and book hotels and all of that. So that's an option for you too. But what I found is that you don't usually have to look stuff up, like research papers. You're not really going to be doing those because the professors know it's basically impossible with the lack of Wi-Fi and the lack of computer service that we have on the ship. However, I had some issues because I realized one of the main things I do when writing essays is to look up like synonym for blank, and I just like look up different words that I can use, and it was so weird that I couldn't do that, or I couldn't look up grammar rules, which was sort of weird too. So I just had to like ask around and be like, does the comma go inside the quotation marks or outside, like that kind of thing, which was just so weird for me. And on your packing lists they say to bring a dictionary, and they might actually say to bring a thesaurus too, but I was like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't need to bring a dictionary on the ship, and like I still don't think you need to do that. But it's funny that they suggested that because that means that they knew that I was gonna have trouble writing and thinking of words, and they were like trying to help me plan ahead, but I just didn't listen, and I didn't want to use that extra space or weight in my suitcase. But just like wrapping this back up, the reason I brought up that you can't like search things on your phone is because maybe you're gonna want to come back to the ship early on the last day before you leave the port and do some work just so you can like look things up while you're writing. So I know I did this at least one time when I had multiple papers due once we got back on the ship. So I came back around lunchtime, like maybe noon or 1. I had lunch on the ship, and on ship time was 4 o'clock. So I think I went up to the 9th deck and I worked for those 4 hours and like looked up everything I needed to on my phone because I had an international plan, so I could do that, which was very convenient. In addition, when you come back to the ship, you might be like really tired and just want to take a shower and like take a nap and see the friends you haven't seen in a while and like eat dinner. But if you have the extra time, once you get back on the ship for on-ship time, which is like 4 or 5 or something like that, the ship doesn't actually leave the port until 7 or 8, or like 6 or 7. You're gonna have like 2 or 3 hours once you get on the ship before the ship actually leaves the port, just so the captain and everyone has time to check things out, make sure everyone's there, make sure everything's set to go before you go back out to the ocean. So while you're there, you can use your phone during that time to look things up if you need to. But honestly, what I did during that time was that I like showered, I got dinner, and then I used my phone to go on like social media and call my friends and family and sit on the deck and look at the water while we were still in port. So do whatever you need to do with your Wi-Fi, but just know that you can't really look things up if you don't use your phone or computer while you're in the country. So that was about all I had to say for this video. It was pretty rambly and I just sort of didn't have a plan. I just like talked about stuff. But let's see, do I have one more tip? Yes, okay. They're gonna give you study days before finals, and if you don't use these study days, okay, well, no one really uses the study days. You're gonna find a ton of people just lying on the decks, tanning, and at the pool and drinking smoothies. But you can really use these study days to your advantage because the midterms, at least on my voyage, the global studies midterm was like pretty hard. Like, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people got D's and C's. Like, that was the average. The average was maybe a 75% because people straight up didn't study. So being the expert time manager that I am, I got up at like 8 a.m. that day, got breakfast, and studied till like noon. And probably then I knew like everything I needed to know. I just looked over the lectures and my notes. The lectures are your best friend when it comes to these tests. It's multiple choice, and I think there's also some short answer questions. But on the day of the study day, the global studies exam is at 7 or 8 p.m. that night. So you have all day to study. You can study in the morning from like 8 to noon like I did, and then go have fun, relax, lie by the pool till dinner time, and then at like 5 come back in and get dinner, and then finish studying, take your exam, and you'll actually pass it like I did. So if that's what you want to do, if you want to get above a D or a C on this test, that's what I recommend. Okay, now I think I'm actually done with the video. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if you liked this rambly style of video, and comment down below something that you learned or something that you're still wondering about. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.